My name is Emily, and growing up, that beach house wasn't just a home, it was my whole world. Mom Eleanor bought it back in the 70s after Dad left us. He was a fisherman, always chasing the horizon, until one day he chased it too far and never came back. Or at least, that's the story she told me. We'd moved from the crowded city streets to this rickety cottage on the cliffs of Maine, where the air smelled like freedom and the gulls screamed like they were laughing at our troubles. Mom worked 2 jobs, waitressing at the local diner and sewing dresses for tourists to keep the roof over our heads. "This is our sanctuary, Emmy," she'd say, her hands calloused but gentle as she tucked me in at night. "No one can take it from us." I believed. As a kid, I'd run barefoot on the beach, collecting seashells like treasures, dreaming of the day I'd grow up and make her proud. But life has a way of eroding those dreams, doesn't it? Like the tide wearing down the rocks. By the time I was in my 20s, things started shifting. I went off to college on a scholarship, studying art, because Mom always said I had a gift for seeing beauty in the broken. She stayed behind, tending to the house like it was an extension of her soul. We'd talk on the phone every Sunday, her voice crackling over the line. "The roses are blooming again, Emmy. Remember how you planted them?" I'd laugh and promise to visit soon, but work in the city kept me chained. Deadlines, bosses, a boyfriend named Mark who promised the world but delivered mostly excuses. Then came the call that cracked everything open. It was a rainy Tuesday when the doctor told her the news: early-stage dementia. "It's manageable," Mom said when she finally confessed to me over tea during my next visit. "Just forgetful spells, nothing more." But I saw the fear in her eyes, the way she'd pause mid-sentence, searching for words like lost keys. "I don't want to be a burden, honey," she whispered, squeezing my hand. That's when the struggles really began, the doctor visits, the medications, the way the house started feeling less like a sanctuary and more like a cage. Mark and I fought about it constantly. "We can't afford to keep flying up there every month," he'd argue, his face twisted in frustration as we sat in our tiny apartment. "Sell the place, Em. Get her into a nice facility closer to us." I hated him for saying it, but deep down I knew he was right. The house needed repairs, the roof leaked, the foundation shifted with every storm, and Mom's savings were dwindling. Still, I resisted. "It's her home, Mark, our home." But then came the night that broke me. I found her wandering the beach at midnight, barefoot in her nightgown, calling out for Dad like he was just offshore. "John, John, where are you?" she cried, the waves swallowing her words. I wrapped her in a blanket, led her back inside, and as she sobbed in my arms, I realized I couldn't do this alone anymore. The next morning, over breakfast, I broached it gently. "Mom, what if we thought about moving somewhere easier?" She shook her head fiercely. "This house is all I have left of him, Emmy, of us." "Him? Dad?" It stung, but I let it go. Little did I know, that was just the surface of the secrets she'd been guarding. Months blurred into a haze of worry. Mark proposed, but it felt hollow. I said yes, hoping it would anchor me. We set a date, but my heart was back at the beach house. Then the bills piled up, a burst pipe flooded the kitchen, and Mom's episodes worsened. She forgot my birthday, then her own name for a fleeting, terrifying moment. I confided in my best friend Sarah over coffee. "I have to sell it," I admitted, tears streaming. "But how do I tell her?" Sarah hugged me. "With love, Em, always with love." So I did it. I listed the house quietly, found a buyer, a young family eager for their own seaside dreams, and arranged for Mom to move into a cozy assisted living place near me in the city. It had gardens, activities, people to watch over her. "It'll be like a new adventure," I told myself. But as I packed boxes, unearthing old photo albums and faded letters, I stumbled upon something that shattered everything. Tucked in the back of Mom's dresser drawer was a bundle of envelopes, yellowed with age, addressed to her in a handwriting I didn't recognize. The postmarks were from all over California, Florida, even abroad, and the signature at the bottom, "John." Dad? But the dates, they were from after he supposedly disappeared at sea. My hands trembled as I read the first one. "My dearest Ellie, I couldn't stay, but my heart is always with you. Forgive me for the life I chose." What? He wasn't dead? He'd left us on purpose? The letters spilled out confessions of a double life, another family, regrets that came too late. Mom had known all along, had protected me from the truth by spinning tales of a heroic fisherman lost to the waves. Why? To shield me from the pain, or to hold on to her own illusions? I confronted her that evening, the letters clutched in my fist. Mom, what is this? Dad, he's alive? Her face crumpled, and for the first time in years her eyes cleared, sharp with old sorrow. I thought it was kinder, Emmy. He left us for another woman, started over, but I couldn't let you hate him or me for loving him still. We cried together that night, the ocean roaring outside like it was mourning with us. The sail was already in motion, but now it felt like betrayal on top of necessity. How could I uproot her from the only place that held her memories, flawed as they were? The day before the move, as I helped her pack her favorite quilt, she turned to me with a small smile. You know, selling the house, it's not the end, it's just a new chapter. I nodded, but guilt gnawed at me, and then that fateful moment on the porch. We're going tomorrow, Mom. I've sold your beach house. She paused, then reached for my hand. I know, honey, and it's okay, but what she didn't know was that the buyer wasn't just any family. It was a family tied to the very secret she'd carried for decades. The buyers were the descendants of Dad's other life, the one he'd built after abandoning us. I'd found out by accident, a twist of fate that felt like the universe laughing at me. While finalizing the sale, the realtor mentioned the buyer's last name, Harper, the same name scrawled on those letters I'd found, the ones Dad had written to Mom from his new life. My heart stopped. I dug deeper, cross-referencing online, and there it was, a family photo on a social media post. A man who looked eerily like Dad in his youth, standing with his kids in front of a boat named Ellie's Dream. It was them, his other family. They didn't know about us, not really, but they'd heard of the beach house from stories Dad told before he passed away a few years ago. They wanted it as a legacy, a piece of their history. I didn't tell Mom. How could I? She'd already lost so much, and now strangers tied to her deepest wound were about to claim her sanctuary. The night before the move, I couldn't sleep. The house creaked around me, whispering memory. I remembered summer evenings when Mom taught me to dance on the porch, her laughter mixing with the radio's static. I thought of the winters we'd spent huddled by the fireplace, her stories of mythical sea creatures, making the storms less scary. Now I was tearing her away from it all. I paced the living room, the letters still burning a hole in my mind. Part of me wanted to burn them, to erase Dad's betrayal forever. But another part wondered if Mom had kept them for a reason, if they were her way of holding on to love, even when it hurt. I sat on the couch, staring at a photo of us from years ago. Me, maybe 10, grinning with a missing tooth, Mom behind me with her arms around my shoulders, the beach stretching out endlessly behind us. I'm so sorry, Mom, I whispered to the empty room. The next morning, as we loaded the last boxes into the car, Mom seemed lighter than I expected. She wandered the house one final time, her fingers brushing the walls like she was saying goodbye to an old friend. I watched her, guilt and love twisting in my chest. You okay? I asked, my voice thick. She turned, her eyes soft but clear. This place gave us a good life, Emmy, but it's just a place. You're my home now. Her words hit like a wave, and I hugged her so tightly I thought we'd both break. But the secret about the buyers gnawed at me. Should I tell her? Would it shatter her fragile peace, or would it give her closure? I was still wrestling with it when we pulled out of the driveway, the for sale sign now marked sold. As we drove away, she looked back only once, then squeezed my hand. Let's make new memories, honey. We arrived at the assisted living facility by noon. It was warm, welcoming, with bright flowers lining the walkways, and staff who greeted Mom like she was family. I helped her unpack, hanging her favorite seascape painting above her new bed. It's like the ocean followed us, she joked, and I forced a smile, still carrying the weight of what I hadn't told her. That evening, over dinner in her new little apartment, she started reminiscing. You know, your dad wasn't perfect, but he gave me you. Her words broke something in me, and I almost blurted out the truth about the buyers. But then her face lit up as she pointed to a photo I'd unpacked, a Polaroid of us building a sandcastle. Look at us, Emmy, we were unstoppable. I swallowed the truth, nodded. Maybe some secrets were better left buried, but life, as always, had other plans. A week later, I got a call from the realtor. The buyers wanted to meet me. They found something in the house, she said, her voice hesitant. They think it belongs to you. My stomach dropped. I agreed to meet them at a cafe near the beach, my mind racing. What had they found? More letters? Something worse? I didn't tell Mom. I couldn't. Not yet. When I walked into the cafe, I saw them immediately, a woman about my age, with Dad's hazel eyes, and her teenage son, who had his jawline. My half-sister, I realized, my heart pounding. "Hi, Emily," she said, standing nervously. "I'm Claire Harper. We found this in the attic." She slid a small locked box across the table, engraved with the initials E and J, Eleanor and John. My hands shook as I took it. "There's more," Claire said softly. "We found a letter addressed to you." I froze, my breath catching. A letter to me? From Dad? Or was it something else entirely? Something that would unravel everything Mom and I had fought to hold together. I looked at Claire, seeing pieces of a man I barely remembered, and felt the weight of a truth I wasn't sure I was ready to face. But I opened the box anyway, and what I found inside changed everything. And there it was, nestled inside the weathered box, a delicate silver locket shaped like a seashell, its surface tarnished, but still gleaming faintly under the cafe's dim light. Next to it was a folded letter, yellowed and brittle, with my name, Emily, scrawled in Dad's unmistakable handwriting. My heart thudded so loud I swore Claire could hear it. She and her son Ethan watched me cautiously, like they were afraid I'd bolt. I wanted, every instinct screamed, to shove the box back at them and run, to protect Mom from whatever truth was about to spill out. But my fingers moved on their own, opening the locket first. Inside was a tiny photo of me, no older than 5, my pigtails uneven, grinning at the camera, with Mom's arm around me. On the opposite side, etched in tiny script, were the words, "My forever girls, Ellie and Emmy." My throat tightened. Dad had kept us close, even after he left. I set the locket down and unfolded the letter, my hands trembling. "Dear Emmy," it began, "if you're reading this, I'm probably gone, and you've found out the mess I made of things. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve, but I need you to know I loved you and your mom more than I had words for. Leaving was the hardest thing I ever did, but staying would have broken us all worse. I was a coward chasing dreams that weren't mine to have. This locket was meant for your 18th birthday, but I never had the guts to send it. Keep it, and know you were my light, always." The words blurred as tears welled up. He'd written this years after he left, dated just a few months before he died, according to Claire. He'd known he was sick, had wanted to reach out, but could. I looked up at Claire, my half-sister, her eyes searching mine. "He talked about you," she said softly. "Not details, just stories. A girl who loved painting the sea. I didn't know you were real until we found them." I clutched the letter, anger and grief colliding like waves against the cliffs. "Why didn't he come back?" I asked, my voice breaking. Claire hesitated, glancing at Ethan, who was fidgeting with his coffee mug. "He was ashamed," she said. "He told my mom, our mom, he didn't deserve you or Eleanor after what he did. He built a new life, but it was never whole, not like what he left behind." Ethan spoke up, his voice quiet, but steady. "Grandpa kept that box hidden, said it was his biggest regret." Grandpa. The word hit like a punch. This kid, my nephew, had grown up with a version of Dad I'd never known, a grandfather, flawed but present. I wanted to hate them, to blame them for stealing him, but looking at their faces, I saw the same loss I'd carried my whole life. I drove back to the city that evening, the box on the passenger seat like a ticking bomb. Mom was waiting in her new apartment, humming as she watered her plants. She looked up smiling. "How was the beach, honey?" she asked, like we'd just gone for a stroll. I froze. Tell her about the box, the letter, the Harpers, or let her hold on to the fragile piece she'd found. I sat beside her, the locket heavy in my pocket. "It was quiet," I lied, my voice shaky. She patted my hand, oblivious to the storm inside me. That night, I lay awake in the guest room, replaying Claire's words, Dad's letter, Mom's smile. I thought about calling Mark, but we'd been drifting since the move. His ring still sat unworn in my jewelry box. The truth felt too big, too raw, but the next morning something shifted. Over breakfast, Mom caught me staring at the locket, which I'd left out by mistake. "That's beautiful," she said, her eyes lingering. "Where'd you get it?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. Mom, it's from Dad. Her face stilled, and for a moment, I thought she'd retreat into one of her foggy spells. But she reached for the locket, her fingers tracing the seashell. He always loved those, she murmured. I told her everything, the letters, the Harpers, the box. I braced for tears, for anger, but she just listened, her eyes distant, but clear. When I finished, she sighed. I kept his secrets to protect you, Emmy, but maybe I was protecting myself too. I loved him, even when I shouldn't have. She opened the locket, saw the photo and smiled, a real, bittersweet smile. He was a fool, but he was ours. We sat in silence, the weight of years settling around us. For the first time I felt like we were truly sharing the pain, not just carrying it alone. But the story wasn't over. A few days later, Claire called again. There's something else, she said, her voice nervous. We found a journal in the house, hidden under the floorboards. It's your mom's, and it mentions you and Dad, and things you need to see. My stomach lurched. Another secret. I agreed to meet her again, but as I hung up, dread mixed with curiosity. What else had Mom hidden, and how much more could our hearts take before they broke, or healed?